Judith, we've been talking about having a chat for such a long time. It's so nice to see you here on the Pink Couch podcast. And
Yes.
you've always been an advocate for the industry. You are very plugged into the issues to what's going on. You started the association, ASITA, right? Association for you
Canadian
do the rest.
Independent Travel Advisors.
Yeah. And you were, in fact, one of the very first independent travel advisors, right? You were
Mm.
telling me that when you first started in the industry, you became what was called an outside agent. So you have lots of experience in that area. You've seen a lot happen over the years. And I think one of the things that you were telling me that you want to address, that you feel is still an issue for a lot of advisors, is commission recalls. And I can imagine that that just makes people kind of go, "Ooh, no, no, no." I worked for 2 years on that, sale, and I'm now it's all for naught. So how is that going? Like, I know some suppliers don't recall commissions if there are issues, others do. Talk to me about that playing field.
Yeah, well, we'd really like to see, I would really like to see more of a level playing field. Some suppliers are paying our commissions, even if they're only at 50%, then we'll get 50% of the commission. Or if it's at 75% of the commission. But there are many suppliers still who, unless it's at full 100% commission, or unless the clients have reached their travel date, they don't pay us commission. So they recall. If even if the commission has been paid out, they'll recall it. And that's really hard to take when that money is, we've counted on that revenue for 1 year, 2 years, whatever, and then it's been paid to us and then it gets clawed back. So, and the thing is when a file is in 75% penalty, they are going to probably resell that cruise cabin, or they are going to,
Oh,
resell that spot. So
right.
they might not, but they're not going to be at a 75% penalty from their suppliers. So, and especially when it is a cruise line and it's their own company, like that's the thing, is that we just want to be treated more fairly, is what it
Yeah, no
is.
kidding. It reminds me of COVID, of course, when everything went out the window. There were no bookings to be had. There was no travel to be had. And some suppliers, very few, protected commissions, but most didn't. But I thought that the issue had been tabled, and I know ACTA was certainly involved in arguing for not recalling commissions. So I thought there was a shift, but it sounds like there isn't.
No, I think it's because there is such a widespread practice of, varying degrees of practice, and ACTA is still actively uh, working towards that. But I think it's a really long, slow process, and I feel that maybe they just need more travel advisors to be more vocal about it.
So how do we get advisors to be more vocal about it, Miss Organizer?
Yeah. Well, what happens is nobody thinks it's a problem until it happens to you. And then all of a
Ah,
sudden it's like you get hit with it and okay, I want to work on this. So that's sort of what my strategy has been, is I've over the past months have reached out on social media and just said, have you had commissions recalled? Have you, dealt with this? And I get stories from a lot of travel advisors telling me what's happened. And those are the ones that are hurting, and they're the ones that say, we don't want this to happen again.
Judith, when you joined the travel industry in the late 90s, it was your dream. You came from banking. Do you find it a bit curious that in this industry, the people who are, carrying the load, selling the product, end up carrying also getting the short end of the stick from time to time? What is this about travel? I never really understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's a little bit of this is it's the way it's always been,
Hmm.
or we can do this because there are travel advisors who are willing to accept this. I think that's part of it too. That there are a lot that just go along, go with flow, and they don't really stand up against what's wrong
I
and
see.
fight for what's right.
But we can't really say this is the way it's always been because the way it's always been prior to 2000, let's say in 2001, the onset of the internet and the cutback of commissions, is advisors made a healthy living out of the commissions. So that was the way it was
Yeah, yeah,
back then.
that's
And of
true.
course, that's all changed.
Back
And
when we
now,
got 10% from the airlines.
yeah,
And there was no surcharges. It was all base fare.
right. Yeah. So there's this odd sort of, sense that travel advisors, sometimes get a bit shafted in what they do, squeezed in the middle, and really not necessarily making the money that you're worth. But does that get offset then by charging fees? Because that really, it's the consumer who should be paying.
Yes. And that's actually something that happened. I think it became very relevant and evident after COVID that this cannot happen again. And
Yeah,
that because we are working for our clients, they should be paying us for our time.
exactly.
And so that's something that many travel advisors started doing, myself included, which has really, really helped. I mean, I get a very healthy revenue per year now from my planning fees. It also weeds out the tire kickers. So there's a benefit from that as well.
Very
And
true.
but you know what? I'm finding there's still a lot of travel advisors who are very reluctant to charge fees.
Really?
And
You've got to
even
be
though
kidding.
some people say, oh, that topic has been beaten to death. And sometimes I'll go to these conferences and they say, well, we're not going to do a workshop about that because it's been talked about so much. But there needs to be some type of education for travel advisors to make them want to charge fees and help them to understand why we all need to be doing it, because really we all need to do it. We can't have some
Yeah.
discount agents who say, oh, don't worry, I don't charge a fee.
No, no kidding. Yeah, that's a very, very valid point. From your perspective, since you've been doing this for, over 25 years, do you find that consumers are showing more respect for your role, especially since COVID?
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah,
especially this past year, I would say, because there's been so many changes, strikes, actions, government shutdowns, countries that are where, we're getting travel advisories for. And so consumers now realize they need a travel advisor. They can't navigate all of that on their own. And so many people come to me saying that. I usually book on my own, but I'm really worried about, what if something goes wrong? So there's that. So I feel like that's a real bonus for us.
with world events the way they are right now, and a sort of discomfort really that we're all experiencing while there's a war on or off or blockades or whatever, there's a lot of hesitancy, I hear, on the part of consumers to confirm their travel plans. What are you seeing?
They're more willing to buy an insurance policy that has a cancel for any reason clause, a benefit in it. So that I'm seeing that. I'm still seeing a lot of people who still want to travel.
Yeah,
Uh, it, they're the ones who are, you know what, I've been waiting so long to do this, and this is something that's really high on my list. So I just,
right.
yeah, I do get a few people. I had a cancellation on a cruise from these two women that were going to be cruising to the Mediterranean, and they were feeling uneasy about it, even though the cruise is not till the fall.
Okay.
So you can't talk people out of that. If that's the way they feel, then all you can do is, go along with it. I can't make them change their mind. So
It's
they realized they were walking
an
away from a good
emotional
month.
decision at that
Yeah,
point,
it's
obviously, and travel is very emotional.
very emotional.
Yeah. So are you seeing Europe? Is it strong again this year?
Very strong. Like
Okay.
I'm especially, I don't know, I'm seeing like Scandinavia, Portugal and Spain, the UK, very strong.
And a lot of the southern routes, the Caribbean, Mexico, etc., have really been promoting summer travel the last couple of years, even though traditionally, would sort of die off. It just seems to be that there's a little more consistency in travel because some people think, you know what, I don't care that it's summer in Canada. I still get to go to a beach and, be served my food, waited on hand and foot. Are you seeing packages all inclusive still really moving for the summer?
Not really.
No way.
Not
Okay. Oh, that's
amongst my
interesting.
clientele. Yeah, I would say no.
Okay. So maybe it's a different customer base, that is looking at that. But so
Yeah, and
yours,
to be honest, I would say probably only 20% of my customer base is all inclusives. So that could be
okay,
why too.
that would be why.
Yeah.
Interesting. So not necessarily looking, even though it's an inexpensive way to take your kids on a vacation, it's not really gelling in your case.
Yeah, because I think people are just thinking if they can only travel in the summer, then they're looking at um, Muskoka,
Right.
Ontario, or the West Coast or the East Coast. Like they're wanting to stay in Canada.
So Canada's still going strong this year. Last year was unbelievable. So
Hmm.
you're still seeing a lot of domestic.
Hmm.
It's more expensive though.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, that's good to hear. Very, very good news. And tell me about the US. What are your clients doing about traveling to the States?
Yeah,
Yes, no,
well, it's
maybe.
mixed. It's a mixed bag. I feel like there's some people who do not want to travel at all. They don't even want to connect in the US, and that's fine. And then there's others who are still, it's not really bothering them. I mean, I feel like the mainstream media paints a different picture than what's really happening. And so people are afraid that they might get stopped at the border or that they're going to get their cell phone checked. But I honestly have not heard of that happening to anyone except for in like a media, mainstream media piece. So
Do you think it's
I try to,
overblown? The concerns are overblown.
yeah, I think so. And I mean, I travel quite frequently to the US because my daughter lives there.
Okay.
And so I've never encountered anything but a welcoming attitude from all the border officers. So
Well, that's so good to
yeah,
hear.
yeah.
What? So last topic on our smorgasbord across the travel industry is fraud. It is becoming apparently quite blatantly, an issue for a lot of advisors who are getting fraudulent bookings and, very, very sophisticated ways of being lured in. Are you seeing that?
Yes, there's been such an increase in mainly email fraud scams, with someone's reaching out saying they want to book a trip and they give you all these details, and then you, like, my practice is to respond and say let's set up a Zoom call where we can talk about your
Right.
preferences and some of what you're looking for, and I will send them the link to my calendar and they'll book an appointment. And then we get to the appointment date and I get an email from them saying, oh, I tried to log into Zoom and it didn't work. So let's use my link instead. And you can see it's very obvious it's not a Zoom link. But if you weren't in the practice of doing a lot of Zoom calls, then you might not notice it wasn't a valid link.
So
So
if
travel
you were
advisors
to,
need to be really vigilant and
well,
make
what
sure
would
that they're not.
happen if you were to click on that fake link?
I have heard that it would either infect you with some malware where they could retrieve some
Ah,
of your information.
oh my
So it's very
God.
serious.
Oh my
And
God,
I'm
that's
thinking that the
terrifying.
reason they're doing it to travel advisors is because we do have a lot of information stored securely in our systems, and maybe they're thinking that they can get some of it that way.
Ooh, that is sophisticated.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's the level, the degree of, intrusiveness that is being searched for and trying to find a wormhole into your system. Fascinating. Yeah, no, that's also terrifying because if you just happen to not be paying attention and you click on that, you're compromised.
Mhm. Yeah. So that's as far as it goes. It's like it's nothing to do with a fraudulent trip they want to create or anything like that.
Okay.
You never do meet those people. And I actually had one just last week and I knew it was fraud, but I played along with it. And sure enough, I got the email saying, we're not going to be able to do this. Let's use my link. So there was a phone number attached to it. So I phoned the number thinking it's probably so not even a real number. And a guy answered the phone, but it was the woman who had set up the call. So I asked for her and he goes, oh, she's busy right now. And I told him who I was. And he goes, oh, just use my link. So I don't even think there was really a woman. I think it was just all him doing it. And he was making out that it was his wife that was setting all of this up. So Anyway,
Wow.
I told him I wasn't going to be able to deal with him because work with him because that he wouldn't be able to use my link.
Yeah, you can't be too careful.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So the passion that you had for the travel industry back in the late 90s when you had a dream, do you still carry that same passion, Judith?
I think I would say yes. I feel like maybe it's even stronger because I'm more invested in it. At the beginning, I was all dreams and like,
Yeah.
sparkles and and how wonderful the things were going to be. But I feel like as I've gone through the different stages of what has happened and all the ups and downs that have happened. I mean, remember Y2K and we were thought our
That's
computers were
right.
going to crash and all of those things that have happened. It's just made me stronger, made and also made me love the travel industry more, but also love travel more too. The more I
Yeah.
travel, the more I love it, and the more I love to visit other cultures. And so I feel like I'm probably more in love with the travel industry now than I was when I first started. And people ask me, I mean, not too often, but people do ask me, "Oh, how long are you going to stay? I like,
Right.
when do you think you'll retire?" Because to be honest, my husband's been retired now for 5 years. So they ask me, "When are you going to retire?" And I just say, you know what, two things. When I stop loving what I'm doing, and also when I no longer have the capacity to travel. When those two things align, then I'll know that it's time to hang up my hat. But
And really, it's not like you're a speed racer or something. There's no time limit
no,
to, putting together arranging travel and
yeah.
travel dreams for your clients. Really, you could do that even if you're lying back in bed, right? I mean,
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd have the energy.
yeah, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's still hard work. No, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It still does take a lot of energy and a lot of detail work. Very good point.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Judith. This is a great chat. Love getting to know you better. And
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk again.
Thanks so much, Nina. It's been fun.